African American. So that means that if IBM wants to come into our country, IBM will have an African American CEO for the African American state. If General Motors wants to come in the country, there will be an African American CEO of General Motors Africa America. If Nokia wants to come into the nation, if LG wants to come into the country, if Toyota wants to come into our country, an African American will be at the leadership. They will run those companies if they so desire to work in our new nation.
Hey, David, I want to ask you this. The state is functioning now. Is everybody is going to get a license? Hey, go along. David, you heard the question I asked you. Is everybody allowed to stay with us?
Yes, people, with our immigration policy, yes, people that come to that new nation, depending on where they are from, they will be given the visas that are necessary for them to live in the nation. Of course, there will be passports given to the African American people that wish to become citizens of that nation. So we are open now. The immigration policy that we will implement, of course, we are looking for talented, competent people that can contribute to the society. And it's going to be beautiful because we want to be able to have people from various countries come live with us, and then they become the ambassadors for their current nation. Like, you're from Suriname, and there may be opportunities for business opportunities between the two different nations. You've got connections in the Netherlands. Maybe there are opportunities that can be developed throughout Europe itself. So we look at it as a win-win situation. But the bottom line is you're going to be in a position where you're never going to have to worry about being looked at because you're black, being subjected to harassment by anyone. It's going to be a celebration of who we are and a celebration of all of humanity.
Hey, David.
It's just something that is worth fighting for.
Hey, David, I was interested in what kind of political system you think. Is it something that will be decided when the state put together, or you have already in mind, or what kind of political system you will have?
Yes, we do have in mind that we will implement a democratic system. It will be a democracy. The government will have checks and balances very similar to what we understand in the U.S. government, i.e. a Congress, which is separated into the Congress and the Senate. You have the executive branch and you have a judicial branch. The Congress is the ones that control the, quote, purse strings. They are the ones that can appropriate funds. The check to the Congress is the Senate. And, of course, the executive branch is the check for both of the Congress. And then you have the judicial. So we're looking at a democratic system itself. And now certain policies that we will implement, we've already agreed on. For instance, in our Constitution, health care is something that is a guaranteed right. That's a human right. So that is going to be guaranteed to every single human being right from the jump. Education is a right that will be guaranteed to all the citizens of that nation. You'll have stuff like, for instance, we've added certain modern terms like the right of a person to never have their body connected to a machine. That is something in our Constitution. And what we mean by that is in the future, there may be people or governments that want to put chips in human bodies and make that law. That's, to us, is absolutely something that the human body, your body is your temple. Your body, you have the right to do what you need with your body, and we don't believe that the state should infringe upon a human's body for identification purposes or mechanisms of control. So we will have in our Constitution, we start off with the rights of the people. So we outline what the basic rights are for every human being, such as due process. You are not guilty. You are innocent until proven guilty in a trial by your peers. You will have the right of habeas corpus, meaning you have the right to your own, quote, body. You just cannot be swept off the street. There are limitations on when the government can go into a person's home. Your home is your personal property. So we are very much a democratic nation, but we're going to be implementing laws which hold a very high standard for the leadership of that nation. If you're caught being corrupt, then you're going to have to face a very severe penalty. Okay. Leadership of the country needs to be focused on helping develop the country to the benefit of all of the citizens of this new nation. So we've got to get out of this. There will be no corporate influence in our government. That will not happen. We will never pass a law in which corporations can influence the political process of our nation. That will not happen.
David,
because we can the damage of what is done.
Mm-hmm. Okay. David, this whole plan about the state. Have you traveled abroad to other countries talking about this?
I have. Well, once again, I lived 11 years in Southeast Asia, so I've met many people, and I've traveled extensively throughout many countries in the world. So I have talked to various people to once again inform the international community that we as African Americans are going to have our rights. Now, I want to highlight one thing with respect to the UN. We as African Americans are going to analyze the benefits and the cons of joining the UN. We don't feel that we don't need the rubber stamp of the United Nations to be In fact, we think that at times, many of us believe that the UN needs to change in order for us even to consider joining. So we're going to take it step by step. Is it in our national interest to join the UN? Because as far as we're concerned, the UN has been there when we have watched the genocide happen on Africa and in Europe. The UN stood by and watched that. So the UN, to us, has been incompetent at times. The UN has not had the ability to enforce resolutions, and we think structurally the UN is flawed. So we're going to look at it as this new nation. We're going to take it step by step, and based off of our national interest, we will then consider joining the UN. But there has to be fundamental changes, structural changes in the UN itself, because I cannot accept the fact that we watched millions of people die with blue helmets on the ground in Africa and in Europe. And we have seen atrocities committed across the world in many nations with the UN right there. Now, that also goes to the IMF. We are not going to jump into signing any agreement to join wholeheartedly with the IMF until we analyze it step by step of the benefits and of the risks of joining such an organization. Because we do not want to hamper the development or put our citizens under the auspices of some type of global group of individuals. Now, we are going to take that step by step. Okay. So those types of organizations, we are going to look at it once again based off of our national interest. And that is what we will then agree, our government will then decide after our debates whether it is beneficial to us to join such global organizations, because we are not going to allow ourselves to be controlled by anyone else on this planet.
Okay. David,
I've seen, my last point is I've seen what the IMF has done in other nations.
Okay.
They go in, they've given money, and now the people, certain countries are, half of their GDP is servicing the debt of the IMF.
Yeah, because David, I have many discussions with my brothers over here also when we talk about the new times. When I talk about new times, I mean just like you explained just about the state is normally Africa have the future and African people. But when we discuss these things, I always say to them, listen, if we will go to a new times and a new world, I cannot accept economic and politic and social ideas from the Western to bring to a new state. I said, if I take these things with me, I bring slavery with me and oppression. You know what I mean? If I